The stars burned cold above the shattered planet, silent witnesses to the chaos below. Commander stood at the edge of the cliff, eyes fixed on the alien city glowing in hues no human could name. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of a question he never thought he'd hear. "Why does she call you father?" He turned sharply, his breath catching. There she was, Queen of the Seraphine, her towering frame bathed in silver light, eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and accusation. Her voice was not angry, but it carried the power of worlds, and yet in that moment felt smaller than any human he had ever been. "It's complicated," he murmured. The words felt hollow even to him. Behind him, the ruins of his landing ship smoldered, a reminder of the war that had already begun. His team had fallen back to regroup, leaving him alone with the most beautiful and dangerous creature in the galaxy. Stepped closer, her translucent wings shimmering, and his heart betrayed him with a rapid, impossible beat. "I want to understand," she said softly, but it wasn't soft enough to hide the tremor of emotion beneath. "She says your name with love, but you are not her father. How can this be?" Swallowed hard, memories flooded him unbidden. Memories of a small, fragile human girl he had found hiding in the wreckage of a destroyed colony. She had been crying alone, a life that should have never survived. He had carried her in his arms, had fought tooth and nail to protect her. And against all odds, against the cruelty of war, she had called him father. Not because of blood, not because of law, but because of something deeper, something unexplainable. He began, but the words died on his tongue. How could he explain love that had no name across the stars? How could he explain a bond that had grown in the fires of chaos and loss? Studied him with an intensity that made him shiver. "You are human," she said finally. "Fragile, and yet she trusts you more than her own people. She obeys you, respects you, loves you. Do you understand what this means to me?" Looked away to the city below, where thousands of Seraphine watched, their eyes curious, fearful, hopeful. He could feel their gaze, the weight of their judgment, and it pressed down on him like gravity. He had crossed galaxies to negotiate peace, to prevent genocide, and now a single question threatened to undo everything he thought he knew about himself. "She calls me father," he whispered finally, his voice rough, "because I saved her. Because I promised her the stars would never fall on her head. Because I'm the only one who's ever kept her safe." Wings twitched, a subtle sign of agitation. "And you, human, do you understand what it means to be her father? Not by blood, not by law, but by choice, by heart? That bond you share, it frightens me." Felt the sting of truth in her words. She was the queen of a proud species, a being of intelligence and power beyond measure. And yet she was vulnerable here in front of him, asking the same question he had never dared ask himself. What did it truly mean to love across worlds, across species? A scream echoed from the edge of the city. Flinched. The invasion had begun. The enemy ships, dark as void, moved with a precision that made his stomach turn. He glanced at. Her calmness was terrifying, yet somehow comforting. She had seen war before. She had survived countless lifetimes of battles. And now she was here questioning him, not as a commander, not as an alien queen, but as a mother in her own way. "I can't protect her forever," said finally, his voice breaking. "I can't stop everything that's coming, but I'll try every day, every moment. That's all I can promise." Stepped closer, close enough that he could see the intricate patterns of light running across her skin, like constellations etched into living flesh. "Your attempt, it is not enough for her, but it is enough for me to understand," she said softly. And then, before he could respond, she asked again, her voice a whisper that could shake worlds. "Why does she call you father?" Closed his eyes, the weight of the galaxy pressing on his shoulders. And in that silence, among the ruins and the stars, he realized that this question, simple, impossible, terrifying, was the beginning of something that would change everything. Because some bonds are not written in blood, not made by law. Some bonds are forged in fire, in tears, in laughter, in love that refuses to bend to the universe. And some bonds can shake the stars themselves. The child, Lyra, crouched among the wreckage of the outer city, her small hands tracing the edges of a scorched metal shard. Her golden hair fell over her eyes, hiding the tears that had begun to form. She had always been brave, or at least she told herself she was. But tonight, the sky felt heavier, darker, as if it had been waiting for her fear. She could hear the hum of the enemy ships, the distant thrum of alien engines that would soon decide her fate. And yet, above all, she thought of him. Father, the word felt strange on her tongue when she whispered it, not because it wasn't true, but because it was impossible. He was human and she was her. Seraphine, yet human, a bridge between two worlds that had never truly wanted each other. And he had always been there, a constant in the chaos, a steady hand when everything else fell apart. She remembered the first time she had called him that. The first time she had uttered the word father in the quiet corner of a broken colony. She had been terrified, surrounded by the smell of smoke and blood, unsure if anyone would survive the night. And then had knelt down, lifted her into his arms, and promised her the stars would never fall on her. In that moment, it didn't matter that he wasn't her real father. What mattered was that he was. Lyra's eyes scanned the horizon. The Seraphine were gathering in the city square below, their wings folding and unfolding in nervous anticipation. And above all of them moved like a shadow of silver light, regal, terrifying, and impossibly beautiful. She had always been distant, a queen in the truest sense, but tonight her gaze was fixed on. Lyra could see the worry in his eyes, the curiosity, and most of all, the unspoken fear of losing her child to a human she barely understood. His voice came faintly from the edge of the ruins. "Lyra, it's not safe here. Come to me." His words were calm, but she knew the weight behind them. The war was closing in, and the world they had tried to protect was burning faster than they could stop it. Lyra hesitated, torn between instinct and love, but then she heard it, the soft, almost trembling command in his voice. It was a sound she had followed all her life, and so she ran. When she reached him, he swept her into his arms without a word. She buried her face in his chest, inhaling the familiar scent of earth and smoke, and for a moment the chaos faded. "Father," she whispered, clutching him as if her life depended on it. And in that word, in that small, fragile human sound, felt the weight of everything. Watched from above, her wings folding tightly against her body. "She trusts him," she murmured, almost to herself. "She loves him, and yet he is not of us. How can this be?" Looked up, sensing her presence even before he saw her. She is safe with me," he said, his voice steady but his heart pounding. "I promised her that once, and I will keep that promise." Descended, landing gracefully before them. Lyra peered up, nervous but curious. The queen was intimidating, larger than life, yet there was softness in her eyes, a softness reserved for her child alone. "Why does she call you father?" asked again, her voice low, almost a plea this time. Tightened his hold on Lyra. "Because love doesn't need rules," he said. "Because I've kept her alive when no one else could. Because I will do it again, no matter the cost." His eyes glimmered with tears she refused to shed. "And if I had to fight you for her?" she asked quietly. "If the universe demanded that only one of you could survive?" His grip on Lyra never wavered. "Then I'd fight, because nothing else matters more than her life." His words were simple, human, but their weight filled the air between them like gravity. Lyra looked from one to the other, understanding only a part of the tension, but feeling it all in her chest. Her small hand reached for, and he took it without hesitation. In that moment, the bond they shared, a bond that species, worlds, and rules, was as real as the stars above them. Stepped back, bowing her head slightly. She did not fully understand this human heart of his, but she recognized its strength. And as the first enemy ship sliced through the night sky, she realized something that terrified and awed her at once. He would give everything for her child, even his own life. The stars trembled in silent witness, and Lyra, the child between worlds, clung to the human who had become her father, not by law, not by blood, but by love. The war had begun. The hearts of three beings, three worlds, were now intertwined, and nothing would ever be the same. The first explosion shook the city, rattling windows and sending shards of crystal into the air like falling stars. Pressed Lyra closer to his chest, feeling her small body tremble against him. "It's okay," he whispered, though neither of them were safe. "I'm here, always." The words felt hollow at first, but the warmth of her tiny hand gripping his sleeve made them real. Watched from the balcony of the Queen's palace, her wings folded tightly against her back. Her people panicked, scattering like silver leaves in a storm, and yet her eyes never left Lyra. There was a fire in him, a human fire she had never seen in her kind, a determination that refused to bend to logic or fear. It both infuriated and fascinated her. The enemy ships carved the sky with red light, their weapons tearing through buildings that had stood for centuries. Scanned the horizon, calculating, fighting the instinct to freeze in fear. He had faced battles before, but none like this. Not with an entire alien race, not with a child who called him father. And yet, somewhere deep in his chest, a stubborn spark flared. He would not let them fall. Lyra pressed her forehead against his chest, hiding her tears. "Father, will it hurt?" she asked in a small, trembling voice. Lifted her chin gently, looking into eyes wide with fear and trust. "It might," he admitted, "but I'll make sure it never breaks you, I promise." The words were simple, human, but their weight carried the kind of love no enemy could destroy. Descended into the chaos, moving with elegance and speed. She had always been a warrior, a queen, but tonight she felt a strange pull, something she could not name. Perhaps it was admiration for this human who dared to claim her child as his own. Perhaps it was a stirring of something forbidden, something that made her heart ache and warm at the same time. Glanced up, meeting her gaze across the battlefield. "You don't have to trust me," he said, voice steady despite the sirens and explosions. "But if we don't fight together, she won't survive." His jaw tightened. She had never needed anyone. She had ruled, commanded, conquered. And yet, here she was, standing beside a human because he loved her child more than any law, any tradition, any pride. It was maddening, and yet it made her chest ache in a way she hadn't expected. The first wave of enemy drones descended on them and sprang into action, lifting Lyra behind a ruined wall. "Stay close," he said. His rifle hummed as he fired, each shot precise, human determination etched into every movement. Joined him, her energy wings glowing, deflecting attacks with elegance and deadly precision. Together they moved like a single force, one of flesh and fire, one of light and will. Lyra watched, her small hands clutching a piece of metal for comfort. She had never seen such power and bravery combined. Her father, her human father, fought with a heart that could not be broken, and the alien queen, terrifying and beautiful, moved as if she were an extension of his courage. And in that moment, something inside Lyra settled. They would protect her. They would. After a brief lull, lowered his weapon, breathing heavily. He said, voice rough but sincere, "You don't have to agree with me, you don't have to feel anything for me, but we have to do this for her life." His wings shivered slightly, the only sign of her emotions she allowed to show. I see that you are more than I believed human," she admitted. "Perhaps more than even I dared to hope." Her words hung in the smoke-filled air, fragile and dangerous like a spark over dry grass. His heart stuttered, not from fear, not from battle, but from something entirely human, a pulse of longing, of admiration, of something he didn't dare name. He looked at her, and for a brief moment the war faded. The sky, the explosions, the impossible odds, they all vanished, leaving only two beings who shared one impossible bond through the child they both loved. A scream from Lyra broke the fragile moment, snapping them back to reality. "Father, they're coming." Lifted her again, determination burning in his chest like a star that refused to die. Followed, wings unfurling to create a protective barrier of light. Together they ran, dodging fire and destruction. Together they fought for the child who had bound their hearts in ways neither had expected. And in that chaos, realized something terrifying and wonderful. Love could exist even in the middle of war. Bonds forged in fire could withstand the impossible. And maybe, just maybe, hearts as different as theirs could beat together across worlds, across species, across everything the universe had ever told them was impossible. The city burned, the enemy advanced. But Lyra moved as one, a family not by blood, not by law, but by something far more powerful, choice, courage, and love. The city lay in ruin. Smoke curled into the night sky, hiding the stars that had once guided travelers across the galaxy. Crouched behind the twisted remains of a building, Lyra pressed against his side. Her small hands gripped his jacket as if letting go would mean disappearing forever. His chest ached, not from exhaustion, not from the fire around them, but from the weight of the question he had never fully answered. Why does she call me father? Hovered above, her silver wings folded tightly, scanning the streets for threats. Even in the chaos, she moved with elegance, like a predator who had learned patience through centuries. But her gaze kept returning to Lyra. She had thought she understood her child, had believed she knew what love was. And yet, watching this human protect Lyra with everything he had, she realized how little she truly knew. His mind raced. Every step he took, every decision he made, carried the life of a child in his hands. He had faced impossible odds before, but this felt different. Every alien ship in the sky, every scream echoing in the streets, it all revolved around one simple truth. If he failed, Lyra would be gone, and she was not just a child. She was hope, she was light, she was a bridge between worlds that might otherwise destroy each other. "Father," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling, Why do they hate us so much?" Hugged her closer, closing his eyes. "Because fear makes monsters of everyone," he murmured. "But we're not monsters, Lyra, we're family." Descended closer, landing gracefully beside them. "Family?" she repeated, her voice soft, almost questioning. The word tasted strange on her tongue. Her species had no exact equivalent. Bonds were forged by duty, by power, by survival, not by love or choice. Yet watching this human and her child together, she understood it in a way her heart could not deny. "Yes," said, lifting Lyra's chin gently. "We fight for each other. We protect each other. That's what family is." His eyes flickered with something unspoken, admiration, fear, maybe even longing. She had never imagined trusting anyone outside herself, yet here she was, standing beside a human who had claimed her child as his own. And she found herself wanting to trust him. Wanting something far more dangerous. The ground trembled beneath them. Another wave of enemy machines approached, their glowing eyes searching for life. His hand went to his weapon, but then he paused. Lyra was trembling beside him. Her small hand reached for, and the queen instinctively took it. A strange warmth spread between them, one of understanding, one of silent promise. Stepped forward, raising his weapon. "We can't run forever," he said. His voice was calm, but his heart raced with fear and determination. "We fight now, or we don't fight at all." Knotted energy wings igniting around her. "Then we fight," she said, "for her, for this family." Lyra's eyes shone, wide with awe and hope. "Father, I'm ready," she said. Her voice, small but steady, filled them with a courage that surpassed their own. The enemy drones descended, and the three of them moved together, a human, an alien queen, and a child who was both worlds. His rifle fired with precision, his wings deflecting attacks, and Lyra, small and brave, held onto them both. The battlefield became a blur of light and shadow, destruction and hope. After a long and grueling fight, silence finally fell. Smoke filled the air, and bodies, enemy and ally alike, lay scattered. Lowered his weapon, exhausted but alive. He looked at Lyra, her small face pale but smiling. She had survived. They had survived. Landed beside them, breathing heavily. She looked at, and for the first time there was no questioning in her eyes. Only respect. Only understanding. Only something deeper that neither dared to name aloud. "You have kept her safe," said softly. "Not because it was your duty, not because you had to, but because you chose to." Swallowed, the weight of the words settling in his chest. "I chose her," he admitted. "Every day, I will never stop choosing her." His gaze softened, and for a moment, the war, the hatred, the impossible odds, all of it faded. There was only this: the child who called him father, the human who had claimed her as his own, and the queen who had finally begun to understand that love could cross worlds. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the ruined city, a secret stirred. Lyra's origins were not fully human, not fully alien. The truth would come soon, one that could shake their fragile family to its core. But for now, they survived, together. The stars, hidden behind smoke and fire, waited patiently above, silent witnesses to the family that had everything the universe had ever demanded of them. The ruins were quiet, but the silence was heavy, filled with the unspoken fear that something worse than the battle still waited. Crouched beside Lyra, brushing soot from her hair. Her golden strands glowed faintly in the dim light, but her eyes, those impossibly bright eyes, held a secret she could no longer hide. "Father," she began, her voice small, trembling, "there's something I haven't told you." His heart tightened. He had known that one day this moment would come, the moment when her truth would challenge everything he believed, everything he fought for. He nodded, encouraging her. "Whatever it is, Lyra, I'm here." Hovered above, her silver wings shimmering, her expression unreadable. She had sensed it, too, a strange energy emanating from Lyra that went beyond human. And now, the time had come to confront the truth. Lyra took a shaky breath. I'm not fully human, she confessed. My mother, she was Seraphine, but she died when I was born. The humans found me after the colony was destroyed. You saved me. That's why I call you father. The words hung in the air like shards of glass. Froze, unsure whether to feel relief or despair. He looked at her small face, at the innocence and fear intertwined, and his chest ached. It doesn't matter, he said finally, voice breaking. You're my child, I choose you, always. Stepped closer, wings folding in a mix of caution and curiosity. So, she is half of my people, she said softly, almost a whisper. A bridge between worlds, and yet you claim her as your own human. Her eyes met, and for the first time there was no hesitation in her gaze, only wonder and something deeper. Swallowed, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on him. I don't care what she is, he said firmly. I care that she's alive, that she's safe, that she trusts me. Lyra's eyes welled with tears. I didn't want to hide it, I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. You won't, promised, holding her close. Not while I live, not while I breathe. You're my daughter in every way that matters. Wings quivered, and she looked away for a moment, fighting against emotions she had never allowed herself to feel. She had always been the queen, the protector of her people, the ruler of a world that demanded strength above all else. And yet here she was, witnessing a human love her child more fiercely than any law, any tradition, any throne could command. I see now, said finally, voice soft but powerful. Your bond, it is real, stronger than any command, any law. She trusts you because you are worthy of her trust. You are her father. Felt a wave of relief and awe. He had fought countless battles, survived wars, crossed galaxies, and yet this acknowledgement, simple and profound, shook him more than any enemy could. Thank you, he whispered, not just for her words, but for recognizing something he had always known in his heart. The air trembled with tension as another wave of enemy drones approached. But for the first time, none of them feared the battle ahead. The revelation had changed everything. They were no longer just a human, a child, and an alien queen. They were a family bound not by blood or species, but by love, trust, and choice. Lyra clung to both of them, her small hands holding and brushing against Wing. I'm ready, she said, her voice stronger now. I'm ready to fight with you together. Lifted her onto his shoulders, his heart swelling with pride. Then together we will, he said, voice steady. We fight not just to survive, but to protect the family we've become. Energy wings flared, a shield of silver light forming around them. Then let the universe try, she said. Try to break what cannot be broken. And as the enemy descended once more, the trio moved as one. Father, daughter, and queen, an impossible family forged in fire, bound by love that logic, tradition, the stars themselves. For in a galaxy where fear and hatred ruled, one truth shone brighter than any weapon, any fleet, any war. Love, in its form, could survive anything. And when the stars themselves watched, even they had to tremble at the power of hearts united. In that moment, understood something he had never known before. Being a father wasn't about blood or origin or species. It was about standing between your child and the universe and saying, I will protect you no matter what. And he meant it. The sky burned red. Enemy ships filled the horizon, their dark hulls blotting out the stars. The air vibrated with the pulse of weapons, and every heartbeat of felt like it might shatter beneath the weight of the coming storm. He held Lyra close, her small hands clutching his armor, and he could feel the tremor of fear beneath her trust. But it was not fear that guided him now. It was the fire that had carried him across galaxies, the promise he had made to this child. We can't hold them forever, muttered, scanning the battlefield. His voice was steady, but inside, adrenaline and worry tangled in a storm that made his chest ache. Every move counted, every second was precious. And yet, even in the chaos, his gaze found. She hovered above, wings spread wide, radiating an energy so fierce it could carve mountains. There was no hesitation in her eyes, only focus, determination, and something softer that made his chest twist. Father, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling but resolute. They're coming closer. Will we be okay? Bent down slightly, resting his forehead against hers. We will, he said, the words a promise and a prayer. I've got you, and we've got each other, no matter what comes. Wings flared with light, forming a protective dome over them. Then let them come, she said, her voice low but commanding. They will not take her, not while we stand together. The first wave struck with the fury of a dying star, fired relentlessly, covering Lyra as she pressed against him, moved like a silver storm, deflecting beams of energy, ripping enemy drones from the air. Their movements were in perfect sync, a dance of survival that no force in the galaxy could break. And through it all, Lyra watched, her fear slowly giving way to awe and pride. Caught a glimpse of her face, illuminated by the glow of swings. In that moment, he realized something he had always known but had never admitted aloud. This child had given him purpose beyond any mission, any rank, any war. She had given him a family, and he would fight until the stars themselves fell from the sky to protect it. But the enemy was relentless. A massive dreadnought descended from above, its weapons cutting swaths through the ruined city. The ground shook with each impact, sending dust and debris into the air. Lyra gasped, clutching him. "Father, it's too big." Gritted his teeth. "It's never too big when we fight together," he growled. He glanced at, "I need you now." Her wings flared brighter, energy arcing across the battlefield. "As you wish," she said, her voice strong, unyielding. She moved toward the dreadnought with lethal precision, each strike tearing through armor and steel. Followed, rifle blazing, clearing the path, protecting Lyra as they moved forward like a storm of light and fire. Amid the chaos, Lyra's small voice rang out. "Father, I'm not scared anymore because we're together." Her words were like a spark, igniting something in both of them. Felt his chest swell, not with pride, not with relief, but with love so strong it burned brighter than any weapon in the galaxy. The battle raged on, but their unity was unstoppable. Energy and determination combined with Lyra's courage made them a force beyond reckoning. Slowly, painfully, they pushed back the enemy, wave after wave, their bond stronger than any fleet, any firepower, any odds stacked against them. Finally, the dreadnought fell, crashing into the ruins with a deafening roar. Smoke filled the air, but for the first time in hours, silence returned. Lyra clung to, tears streaming down her face, not of fear, but of relief. We did it," she whispered. Hugged her tightly, his eyes burning with emotion. "Yes, Lyra, we did it, together." Landed beside them, breathing heavily but smiling, a rare, genuine smile. "You are truly remarkable human," she said softly, her eyes meeting. "And you, all of you, have shown me the strength of love, courage, and family. Even across worlds it can triumph." For a moment the war faded. There was only them, the human, the alien queen, and the child who had called him father. The impossible bond that had begun in fear and chaos had proven unbreakable, strong enough to survive even the fires of war. And as the stars peeked through the smoke once more, realized something profound. They had not only survived, they had changed the universe, not with weapons, not with power, but with something far stronger. Love, choice, family. In that silence, the three of them stood together, unshaken, unbroken. And the galaxy, vast and cold, seemed to hold its breath, acknowledging a force it had never expected. Hearts united, defying the impossible. The battlefield was silent now, the fires reduced to smoldering ruins. Smoke lingered in the sky, curling like ghosts, but the stars were slowly returning, faint pinpricks of light breaking through the haze. Knelt amidst the wreckage, brushing dust from Lyra's golden hair. She smiled weakly, her small hand finding his, and he felt a warmth spread through him stronger than any weapon he had ever wielded. "You're safe now," he whispered. "Always safe, I promise." Lyra looked up at him, eyes shining. "I know, Father, because you're mine." Her words, innocent yet profound, carried a weight that made his chest ache with a love deeper than the galaxy itself. Landed beside them, wings folded, her silver glow dimmed by fatigue but undiminished in presence. She studied them both for a long moment, taking in the human and child she had come to respect, even admire, and the bond they shared, one forged in fire, trust, and choice. Her heart, alien yet strangely human in feeling, ached and warmed at the same time. "You have done something remarkable," she said quietly, voice soft. "You have not only survived, but you have shown me that love is not bound by species, law, or tradition. It is choice, and it is stronger than anything I have ever known." looked at her breathing still heavy from battle, eyes filled with unspoken gratitude. I didn't expect your understanding, but I'll take it. I'll take anything that keeps her safe. Gaze softened, a rare vulnerability slipping through. You already have, you already have. Lyra tugged at sleeve. Father, what happens now? Her voice carried curiosity, hope, and the quiet fear that the universe might not allow this peace to last. Pulled her into a hug, lifting her slightly so she could see both him and... Now, we rebuild, he said, voice strong despite exhaustion. We protect each other, we stay together, that's what matters. Stepped closer, placing a delicate hand on Lyra's shoulder. You are the bridge between two worlds, she said softly. And now, you have shown both sides that the impossible is possible, that love and choice can defy hatred and war. The child's eyes sparkled. Then we're really a family. Yes, said firmly, lifting Lyra into his arms. We are a family, and nothing will change that. Nodded, a small smile gracing her lips. Her wings flared faintly, wrapping around them both in a protective arc that felt more intimate than any palace or throne could ever provide. Then let the stars bear witness, she whispered. This bond, this love, will endure beyond wars, beyond galaxies. For a moment, silence reigned. The night sky stretched above them, the stars peeking through the remaining smoke, twinkling as though bowing to the improbable family standing below. Felt Lyra shift in his arms, her warmth grounding him, reminding him of the promise he had made when he first found her alone among the wreckage. I will protect you. Always. And he had kept that promise. Not through strength alone, not through weapons or strategy, but through the stubborn, unyielding force of love. Looked at him then, something unspoken passing between them. There was respect, admiration, and a quiet acknowledgement that the human before her had surpassed every expectation. She had always been queen, always been powerful. But in this moment, she saw him not as a human, not as a soldier, but as the father of her child in every sense that mattered. You've changed everything, she said, voice trembling just slightly. The universe, it will never be the same. Smiled softly, looking at both of them, his daughter, the alien queen who had become their ally, their protector. Then let it change, he said. We've already proven that love, family, can defy even the impossible. Lyra leaned her small head against his chest, and for the first time she felt truly safe. Not because the war was over, it wasn't, but because the people she loved had survived it with her and they had chosen each other. That was stronger than any army, any weapon, any star. Above them, the stars shone brighter now, scattered across the sky like silver fire. They seemed to pulse in quiet recognition of what had been forged below. A bond that transcended worlds, that refused to bow to fear or hatred, that could endure beyond time itself. Held Lyra tight, stood beside them, her wings brushing gently against father and child. And in that quiet, perfect moment, the universe seemed to pause. Because some things, love, choice, family, were stronger than the stars themselves. And together they would face whatever came next, not as soldier and queen, not as human and alien, but as a family. A family that even the heavens had to acknowledge.